Harvard, one of the most prestigious universities in the U.S., is often considered the best university a student can attend. But I've always wondered, is the college really worth the hype? Go to any college ranking list, and Harvard is always bound to be on the top 3 of the list, no matter what category, being the pinnacle of academic excellence throughout the intellectual community. If you ask the smartest kid in your class where they're applying in their senior year, Harvard is commonly among the top choices no matter what field they want to pursue. A select few students even dedicate their entire lives to get accepted into Harvard and still get rejected, boasting a measly acceptance rate of 3.2% in 2022, and is most likely going to continue to become smaller in the coming ages. Trying to get into Harvard is no easy task, and I wanted to know if the university was really worth all the hype. With all the academic prestige at the university, I wanted to rate Harvard on 4 basic levels, even though I'm not nearly qualified to judge anyone who goes to this university. These 4 basic levels include academics, athletics, quality of life, and return on investments. I believe that these 4 categories will give a holistic analysis on the college to see if Harvard really is the best fit for students, assuming that you can get in. Okay, I might be exaggerating to a certain extent, but the academic excellence and rigor that comes with Harvard is no joke and often lives up to its name. Even if we ignore the generational hype that comes with the university, statistically, it's the best university to go to if you plan on becoming a future president or Fortune 500 CEO. Not many students can say that they went to the same university as 8 U.S. presidents, and that's not the only notable alumni that Harvard has. Founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, founder of Meta or Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and my personal favorite, the best Asian basketball player, Jeremy Lin, all attended Harvard University. Now, this might seem unrelated to academics, but don't worry, I'm just getting started. Harvard also has the most Nobel Peace Prizes in the entire world, being responsible for numerous creations that help to save millions of lives. Their undergraduate school is ranked extremely high in every regard, and their business, medical, and law schools are also all top of their class. It's pretty hard to quantify how vastly ahead Harvard is from its other peers, so I wanted to look at some more realistic stats that are easier to compare, even if they don't really represent the academic rigor at the university. The average MCAT score, basically the SAT or ACT for med students in the nation, is around 500 to 505. The average score at Harvard for pre-medical students is a staggering 520.9. Now, an average person might look at this and say, wow, that's only a 15-point difference. That's not that impressive. However, many people don't seem to understand that the scoring range for the MCAT varies from 472 to 528, making an average score of 520.9 already in the 97th percentile of all incoming med students. This means that the average student at Harvard is smarter than almost 97% of all pre-med students, and that's not the only staggering factor regarding Harvard. Although there are numerous other accomplishments and stats I could bring up to show how academically advanced Harvard is, I feel like you've gotten the point already. It is undeniable that Harvard's academic rigor and resources push their students into the path of excellence, and in this category, Harvard scores a perfect 10 out of 10 points. If you could visualize Harvard's academic prowess as a weapon, it would be like a nuclear bomb, capable of wiping out the competition in an instant. Now, on the other hand, though, if we compare Harvard's athletics to a weapon, we'd most likely get a measly slingshot that's broken. Jokes aside, Harvard does offer a vast array of Division I or D1 sports. Yet, except for a select few, the university often seems to struggle even with the Ivy League conference. Now, random side note, a really common misconception about the Ivy League schools is that it was solely created to differentiate its strong academic prowess compared to other universities. While this may be true to some degree, the Ivy League is actually an athletic conference in which the 8 private universities compete against. Despite their whole personality being centered around being an Ivy League school, unfortunately, most of them do not excel in sport. Let's be honest, when was the last time you heard about the Ivy League conference games? That's right, never. Most people are too busy concentrating on big NCAA football games and never even glimpse at the puny Ivy League games. With no great incentive to focus on sports, the athletics at Harvard often struggles and therefore would be a weak point within the university. Harvard is also notorious for emphasizing very uncommon sports that the greater public probably wouldn't be really interested in. A great example of this would be rowing. The combination of not being good in sports and focusing on the most unpopular sports makes it hard for the school to be known for its athletics and has a student body that also doesn't really care about their athletic performance as well. Therefore, in this category, Harvard scores a measly 6 out of 10 points. Now, considering that many students spend their entire lives trying to get into Harvard, you would expect most of the students to be happy. Yet, that isn't always the case. Despite the university's best attempt to promote a balanced lifestyle, Harvard was ranked 17th in schools with the most oppressed student bodies by articles such as Human Universities. Not a strong start to this section if we're being honest. The most common problems among students seem to be imposter syndrome, a condition in which students often feel inferior to their fellow classmates as they believe that they do not belong at the top university. Even the most academically talented students sometimes struggle with their workload, becoming stressed and spiraling down into an endless cycle of self-doubt. It is understandable that students would feel pressured to excel in their classes, yet many students struggle to find the balance that is needed to have a happy life. Combined with a small sports culture, something that often gives students a well-deserved break, students at Harvard struggle to find a way to be able to actually enjoy their time at Harvard. However, despite Harvard being one of the most academically intensive universities in the world, it isn't actually hard to get good grades while at the university. Harvard is notorious for grade inflation, making it easier for students to get a high GPA. It's at a point that many Harvard students claim that the hardest part of Harvard is actually getting into the university itself, not actually studying at the university. This makes the quality of life at Harvard a little better, even if grade inflation might not be the most acceptable thing to everyone. With everything in mind, it can be said that Harvard has a mix of healthy students that are able to manage their workload and students that are scared of being inferior to others. With this in mind, I believe that Harvard scores a respectable 7.5 points out of 10. With an average cost of $80,000 and the university being located in one of the most expensive states in the entire US, being enrolled in Harvard is certainly not cheap. This doesn't even account for the numerous other costs that you will most likely have to sacrifice if you even want to have the chance to get into Harvard. If you have the resources available, it would be no exaggeration to say that you need to spend a good chunk of money on tutors, internship opportunities, and college advisors to get into an institution like Harvard. On top of all this, the university only gives need-based aids, so therefore, many students will not get any kind of scholarships throughout their 4 years. Although this might sound negative, many students will argue that studying at Harvard is extremely worth it. Considering the amount of networking opportunities you gain from attending the university and the prestige that comes with the university itself, graduating from Harvard will ultimately make your life much easier. However, this is also heavily dependent on what kind of majors you choose to focus on, with certain majors being more profitable than others, assuming making money is your first priority. But even then, Harvard students have the highest acceptance rates to some kind of doctoral or master's degree in any kind of institution, making the university very appealing if you are wishing to go to a higher level of education. Although people would argue that you can get into higher education even while going to a cheaper and less prestigious university, it is undeniable that Harvard has the necessary resources to help prepare its students to have the highest chance to get into these programs. In this sense, Harvard will most likely have a heavy ROI if you have a clear set plan on what you wish to pursue, giving the university a 9 out of 10 in this aspect. The only thing that really holds Harvard back from other universities is the extremely high cost of being a private university, with some arguing that other public universities offer the same kind of networking opportunities at a much lower cost and higher acceptance rate. With a 10 in academics, a 6 in athletics, a 7.5 in quality of life, and a 9 in ROI, the total score for Harvard ends up being a 32.5 out of 40. Now, this might seem oddly low for a top university like Harvard, but this so-called low score shouldn't be underestimated. Having a perfect score in academics and having a nearly perfect score in ROI is no small feat, and if you get accepted, I would highly recommend going to this university. This information was probably obvious before you even watched this video, but after this analysis, I have reached a conclusion that many tend to ignore. You will not get into Harvard. At least, most of you won't. The thing is, even if you spend the majority of your high school life preparing yourself with the best extracurriculars and grades, there is still a high chance that you will not get into Harvard. There may be multiple reasons for this. There might be someone smarter than you that also applied to Harvard, or there might be someone who also cured cancer in the same grade as you, or maybe you had bad luck, and the Harvard admission officer was in a bad mood when they looked at your resume. We never truly know the reason why someone doesn't get into a college, and it's something that we can't completely control. With this in mind, I think it's important to understand that you shouldn't base your entire high school life into getting into a singular college, especially when it's a selective school such as Harvard. Throughout the entire college application process, it's important to have some reach schools that are definitely prestigious, yet you shouldn't be confined to those top universities as the only option. There are numerous other universities that are just as good, and maybe even a better fit for you. The point of this video is not only to rate Harvard fairly, but to also acknowledge that it is in no way the perfect university, and that there are numerous other options for students across the US to choose. Harvard is not the only choice, and it never should be. High school seniors need to apply to these universities with confidence, but also know that reality that comes with it, that rejection is still an option that they have to face, and that certain setbacks are bound to exist. Not every university is like Harvard, but with the right mindset, you can make any university the best school for you. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on which university I should rate next.